Well, welcome to Honors Chemistry here at Reitz High School. Glad to see that you took the challenge and decided to sign up for this class. I think we should have a good year this year. We're going to have some fun. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently. As you can see in these videos, or this video is a good example of what we're going to be doing. We'll be taking and flipping our classroom around. Basically what that means is that we'll take what we would normally do in the classroom time, like lecture and stuff like that, and that will become your homework. Much like this video, except usually a little bit differently. Rather than seeing my ugly mug, you'll be seeing kind of me writing on a screen and talking. And then in the classroom, instead of doing lecture and boring stuff like that, where you just kind of sit there and get bored, you'll be doing your homework. And so you can ask questions. There'll be time for one-on-one, more times for lab and things like that.
So let's continue. Podcast 1.0, getting a little introduction here to how we're going to be doing things throughout the year. As you can see, I've got my little pen tool here, and I can write you little messages like this. I can make things appear and disappear and bring in little cool guys like this, kind of reminding me of my inner alter egos as the mad scientist. Hopefully through this course we'll bring out the inner geek in you. We get to do some fun stuff in class this year, primarily because we are flipping this classroom around a little bit. We're sending the traditional lecture and the time that we would be spending lecturing home with you. You're going to be watching these videos at home, and instead in the classroom, rather than using the time to do that in the classroom, we'll have that time available to do other things, like actually working on the traditional homework that you would have normally been doing at home and struggling with and not getting done. You'll be doing it in the classroom, and I'll be right there to be able to give you some help. Also, because of the time that we free up with the lectures being done out of the classroom, we'll be doing more lab work than we would have normally been able to do. And I have some pretty cool data acquisition equipment that we can use to run some pretty cool experiments. And so hopefully we'll bring out that inner geek in you. We'll give it a shot anyway. Just a couple of other items that I kind of stumbled across. These are some really good quotes from Albert Einstein that I thought really spoke to the introductory type stuff I want to say about this class. One, I got here on the screen: weakness of attitude becomes weakness of character. Your attitude in this class is going to become extremely important. How you approach the class can become how you end up doing in the class. So attitude there becomes character. Another one that I found that was kind of spoke true and rang true about honors chemistry: anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. I thought that was kind of important because a lot of times what I see in chemistry, and I've been doing this for quite a while, is people haven't really been pushed to their limits. And I think chemistry is one of those classes that can really push you to your limits. And so you're going to come across some things that you maybe have never done before and maybe don't understand the first time you do them. And that's okay. That's okay. Make mistakes. Try things, right? Try new things. And so as you approach this, just keep that kind of in the back of your mind that you're going to be stretched a little bit, and that's a good thing. You want to learn what your limits are. If we knew what we were doing, it wouldn't be called research, would it? Right? So a lot of times we don't know what we're doing, and I felt that one kind of pointed to this new idea of flipping this classroom around. I've never done this before, and so it's going to be a new adventure for all of us. It's going to be research, right? And the last one that I'll leave you with here on this particular section: a true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. Guys, I want you to stretch your imagination. I want you to be thinking about things in new ways, doing new things, and stretching that imagination, because that is a critical component to your intelligence. And so one thing that we will be able to do with this type of lecture system that I've kind of put together here, we will be able to talk about the chemistry, obviously. So if we have something like this, where we've got this particular H is what? Hydrogen, right? And is this also hydrogen? Yes, it is. When we put these two together, we get a new element. We get helium. But notice that the top doesn't add up. If you think of this little arrow sign here as an equal sign, it doesn't add up, right? So we're missing something. we are missing a neutron. And anybody recognize this, where you take two atoms and smash them together and you get a different atom? Yeah, that's right, it's called fusion. And fusion is what powers the sun. But there's another place where we've used fusion before. Anybody remember or know? Right? Nukes. And so this next little bit here, I thought I'd just throw in a little clip of a nuclear explosion, just for the fun of it, just kind of to test out the software and to show you some of the things that are possible. Yeah, this is a really cool nuclear explosion that they've got going on here. Just look at that mushroom cloud. That's just incredible. Now watch the shockwave come at you. Sorry for the size of the thing, but I'll try to improve that in the future. But that's just awesome, I thought. Alright, well that was really cool. I really like that one. I like seeing that shockwave that I talked about there. Alright, well, success with vodcasts. Vodcast, you might say? Podcast? Sound familiar? Well, yeah, basically the same thing. It's just the only difference here is in a vodcast, we're dealing with video podcast. So call it what you will, doesn't really matter. It's all kind of basically the same thing. But just like in the classroom, you really need to focus on these when we're doing the actual lectures. Not much really heavy core going on here in this one, but you really need to set some quiet time. You don't want to multitask. You want to put that cell phone down. You want to be able to focus on what you're doing, and make sure that you take good notes. That's also going to be important here when you're doing this. Another nice thing about these video lectures is that you can use the pause button and also the rewind. How many times have you been in a lecture and you've been, starting to snooze or starting to doze, and you miss something, and you ask your next door neighbor what was just said, and they reply back, and then you get in trouble, all because you were trying to find out what was going on? Well, because of this nice little pause button and the rewind that you'll have available to you, you can just pause it, finish writing what you're doing, what you're writing down, or if you miss something, you can use the rewind and go back, and it just adds a nice little bonus there that you don't normally have in class. How many times have you wanted to pause your teacher? Anyway, so make sure you're focusing. Don't multitask. Get rid of that cell phone. Right? If you're doing this on a computer, turn off or do your absolute best to ignore those chats. I know that they are so tempting, but just ignore them, right? You want to focus as much as you possibly can and take good notes. And the other nice thing about these video lectures is that if you have some spare time in enrichment, or I don't know, on your way somewhere or on the bus or whatever, you can pop one of these in to review. I wouldn't suggest that as the first time maybe going through, but as a review or something like that you want to catch up on something or whatever, this would be a great thing to do in those situations, right? So at this point, I have some questions, that you might have about what's going to happen with our class time. Well, I've spoken to that a little bit. Class time is for taking notes, right? Well, now we're going to be doing other things. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of extra time to do things like lab. Just be careful not to get too adventurous with your lab and into other experiments that might lead into bad situations. But the other nice thing about this opening up of class time is that there will be time there for me to be available to you as you go through the homework, because that's what the class time is going to become. It's going to become your homework time, the class time. And so I'll be able to be there to work one-on-one, or if we need to pull together 2 or 3 students, or maybe the whole class is struggling with something, and we can pull back and take a new look at it all together in class. And so as we go forward, we can do those kinds of things in this type of setting. You'll be doing things like projects and other stuff like that in groups, working on your computer to put things together, or in lab demonstrations. You'll be able to have that time available that I can pull some demonstrations together for you to demonstrate what the material is talking about and what things actually look like. And so the classroom then will be quite a bit different than I think what you're used to, because you'll be having lots of different things going on at the same time, people doing different stuff. And that's good, because if you get to a point where you're just bored with what's going on, you can move on to the next part. You don't have to wait for everybody like you would do in in a regular classroom. And so but that can create a little pandemonium, little craziness, little chaos going on, people doing different things. But I think that's going to be good. So this is a new experiment, right? Just learning as we go. And so I have lots of different resources that I have researched about this, and so I have some good ideas and some good tips about what works and what doesn't work. And so I really believe that this is good for your education, changing things around a little bit.